What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner, Lanturn, Surrey Stingers, and Kelowna Crocodiles. The three franchises that I've developed over the course of Generation 7. This is going to be a long one. I suggest that you lean back, make some popcorn, grab a drink, and settle in. I found this free timeline creator, and I tweeted about this the other day. You can follow me at Canadaine, which is Canadaine on Twitter. But I found this free timeline creator the other day, and I decided that I wanted to put together a history of my experience in Gen 7. And this sort of summarizes everything from the beginning of draft, of my draft career, I should say, not of draft in general, but of my draft career to the end of Gen 7 in December 2019. It's currently the 29th today. Probably have this up, I don't know, either today or tomorrow or New Year's Eve or something, just to end out the year on a positive. Yeah, so let's just get right into things here. So we'll start off. I began draft in October 2017, right at the tail end of Sun and Moon and the beginning of Ultra Sun and Moon. Little did I know Ultra Sun and Moon was going to last 2 years, but Sun and Moon was getting pretty stale from what I saw on YouTube and stuff, but it was still brand new to me, and I sort of got into draft through shiny hunting in the first place, really. I'd gotten Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because all my friends at university were getting it, and I didn't even have a 3DS at the time, so I got ORAS, and then I picked up X and Y, and I built a living dex for myself, started shiny hunting after getting the shiny charm, and I was searching for YouTubers and stuff, and I found A-Drive, and then just through his shiny hunting stuff, I found his Draft League stuff, and I was intrigued by what that meant, because I was a ladder junkie. I played a lot of OU, back in Gen 6 and early Gen 7 as well. And I wanted to try something different, and that was draft. So I started searching, became an A-Drive subscriber, started searching around some leagues, and found a good friend of mine now, Frost, in A-Drive server advertising for a Wi-Fi league called the SAPL, the Super Amazing Pokemon League, which was really cheesy at the time, but they needed someone, or they were advertising for signups for Season 3. I signed up and didn't get a spot, but I was still invited to their server, and so I started making some friends. There I met Magic, Mortal, Frost, Jay, Nacho, all of whom I consider very close friends now. Um, and that's sort of how things started a little bit. From there, I was able to branch out, and I met Muddy, who I'm not as close with now, and who's kind of dropped off the face of the earth, but he was advertising for a brand new league called LET, League of Extraordinary Trainers, and I was quick to jump on that bus. And then there was someone named, that guy you named Bob, who we'll talk about in much detail later, who wanted to start his own league, the UPBA, and I signed up for that as well. And so both of those started in October 2017. Both of the drafts started on like Thanksgiving Day, Canadian Thanksgiving. I should point out because I am Canadian, but Canadian Thanksgiving Day in October 2017. And that's pretty much where things started, was Thanksgiving in October 2017. So let's start by digging into October here. So I started UPBA Season 1 and LET Season 1 at the same time here. Let me just move down. There we go. So those started at the same time. They were my first two draft leagues. I actually ended up going on to win UPBA Season 1 due to some unforeseen circumstances. Byron had to drop out of semifinals, and Frost won, and then Frost and I battled out in finals, but it was more of a meme match from Frost's side to give me my first title, because he had a ton, and it wasn't really a fair way of how playoffs should have been handled, so it was fine in my mind, and it's still a legitimate championship. I had a 6-6 record in that league, and I pulled through and just absolutely dominated quarterfinals and semifinals, really showing how much I'd learned. LET Season 1, I mean, I don't really know what to say. Maybe I just had a knack for it, but I finished the regular season 12-3. It was the best regular season. It's the best regular season anyone has ever had in that league, and it was just incredible how well I played in that league. I got McGarren around 1 because they allowed a bunch of broken stuff, And then I got knocked out in semifinals by some agility baton pass cheese into stored power Necrozma, which was super annoying to lose to because I definitely feel like I could have won that league as well. But that's, yeah, whatever. It happens. I'm still a little bit salty about it. That happened way back in like February 2018 or something ridiculous. So I shouldn't be salty about it at all, but I am a little bit. And then SAPL Season 3, I ended up taking over for Jay, who didn't have the time to play anymore because of his teaching career. And so I took over there. Started out my first match getting 6-0'd, and then my second match there, I got a 6-0 back. I ended up making playoffs, and I lost in quarterfinals of playoffs there. So I had a pretty good record at the time going to playoffs right off the bat. I met some really cool people. I met Austin and Jed as well in UPBA by advertising for replacements in A Drive server, and um, things were going pretty well right off the bat. Obviously, I had my first championship in LET. I was promoted to an admin at the end of season 1 because of how well I'd played and how much I'd cared. And in SAPL, I was given doc permissions the next season because I was proven competent enough with my own documents to work with that. So then in November 2017, I joined PCL Season 1 and CCBL Season 1. So PCL Season 1 was Magic's league, and I did really well there too. I finished with the first overall record there as well, and I got a bye all the way to the semifinals to play Cade, and Cade beat me. It wasn't really close. My team was kind of whack. It was my first ever weather team. I drafted some sand. I guess I should summarize a little bit more about the teams. So LET Season 1, I actually managed to get Megalodios that gave me points because of how the tiers were structured. It was horrible, but Magearna, Megalodios, Manaphy really just were the offensive powerhouses on that team. I had Mammoth Swine as well um, to break the seal types that Magearna couldn't, and Rotom Heat as well, things of that nature. But those were all Sun and Moon leagues, and PCL Season 1 and CCBL Season 1 were also Sun and Moon leagues. So I played in 5 regular Sun and Moon leagues, and then D&D Season 6, once we get over to December, was the first Ultra Sun and Moon league that I played in. But PCL stuck with Sun and Moon despite the games coming out like right after we started PCL Season 1 for Ultra. Magic didn't care and he wanted to just go through with a regular Sun and Moon season. So it actually led to some controversy because there were a couple times where someone would bring like Fire Punch Alolan Muck, which was a move tutor move in Ultra Sun and Moon, and you weren't allowed to run that in Sun and Moon. So there were a few things like that that ended up popping up, and people ended up like losing differential or having to accidentally re-forfeit a game because they weren't sure what moves were compatible, and people were just too lazy to look it up themselves, really. And then CCBL Season 1, I'd been talking with Jed a lot in DMs about this, and he was looking to find a replacement. He wasn't even running the league, but he was trying to find a replacement because they had a bunch of drops near the end of the season. I ended up only playing 2 games, and then I got a forfeit win with the team that I picked up. And I picked up a team with like a horrible differential, but it just had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to try that was new. I lost one of the games to Jimmy. I beat Tiff, and then I beat Ace. I played 3 games. I beat Ace, and then I played Jed in a friendly, and I beat him in the friendly match. And Jed actually came second in that league to Mountain Dewpider, who would end up joining NCL Season 3 way down the line. But that was pretty much my experience there. PCL Season 1 was strange with the Sand team. Tyranitar ended up being my kill leader. Um, I drafted like Salazzle and Entei just to take I think I was trying to take Salazzle away, and then I dropped Entei, and my team had like no defensive core until I dropped some stuff. I dropped like Ditto and stuff for Miltank and Cresselia. I can't remember what else I dropped for Entei. I dropped Entei for Cresselia, Ditto for Miltank, and my season started turning around on its head, and I started winning a lot of games with a more defensive lineup with the Miltank and Cresselia. It gave me more room to work around with the team, and this is just sort of learning because my LET Season 1 team pretty much had no defensive backbone. My UPBA Season 1 championship team was definitely more based around Kieran Black and Fernape Mimikyu offense, and it's one of the reasons why I think Mega Absol sucks. Because I think with Mega Absol, you need to have a much more defensive build around it, and I just, even winning the championship there, I just couldn't justify Mega Absol being good ever. It's just so bad. But that's pretty much November 2017. And then in December 2017, after the Ultra Games had come out, I was starting to make friends with Dylan, who uh, Dio Games, who was an A-Drive mod at the time, and this was his league called Dunsparces and Dragonites. And I joined for season 6 in the championship division, so it was formatted like the Premier League in soccer. So there's the Premier League, which was the top division, which had a few friends in it that I now know, Gareth and Cade. And then the championship division is what I joined alongside Magic, Jed, and Austin. And so we were fighting to win that, to promote to the Premier League. Unfortunately, another season never ended up happening. It ended up just Dylan lost a bunch of interest and ended up deleting the server. Unfortunately, actually, Aaron was also in the Premier League at the time, as well as Mapston, who's going to come in to play a little bit later down the timeline. Um, yeah, so this started off my rivalry with Jed, I think, more so than UPBA season one. We had played back there. Uh, and he beat me. And then in D&D, I got my revenge 3 times. Actually, we ended up playing 3 times because of how the playoff structure worked. And there was 12 weeks, and you played rematches even in the regular season. You played like in division people twice, and then out of division people once, but not everybody. And then the playoff bracket was double elimination actually. So um, I ended up losing in the semifinals of the first round bracket. I beat Jed in the quarterfinals, lost to Krabby in the semifinals, which was bullshit, but I'll touch on that in a second. And then I beat Austin in the semifinals of the double elimination bracket and Jed in the finals of the double elimination bracket. So I ended up finishing third because I ran the double elimination bracket through. But the thing about Krabby's team in that league is that it had allowed Naganadel before Naganadel got quick banned on the ladder and banned everywhere else. So Naganadel was not a balanced Pokemon by any means, and it was yeah, it really sucked to have to play that twice. He just had Naganadel Skarmory with Florges, and so it was like literally impossible to just kill Naganadel at all. And I thought I had a strategy with Boomburst Spec Swellow that would OHKO it behind sub, but he ended up playing well around that, I guess, and it was really cheesy. Like it's just impossible to beat that core of 3 because Naganadel, as soon as it got a kill, would just win the game, and it was kind of bullshit. But that is what D&D Season 6 was. Then in January 2018, there was a spike of leagues here. So I joined DBA Season 1, which started drafting at the end of December, and we started playing in the beginning of January. That was run by TJ, and it was interesting. It was my first experience with a fast draft, which that'll be my only experience with a fast draft ever, I think. It was pretty horrible. It was definitely designed for American time zones, and Jed was competing in that league too. So Jed basically left me an entire draft plan, or multiple draft plans that I was tasked with picking for him because we had like a 5-minute timer, and he was asleep the entire time because he's Australian. I joined Mount Silver Season 2, which started drafting on New Year's Eve 2017. SAPL Season 4, I returned for and then ended up leaving, and I'll talk about that in a bit here. And then I'm not going to go super in depth with that though, because it's a touchy subject for a lot of people. Um, and people that I care about now were involved that I didn't know were involved before, and I don't want to destroy relationships about that. But that one's definitely the biggest hit out of all of them. And then I started NCL Season 1 because I'd gone through all these leagues, and especially DBA gave me the motivation to start NCL. And the decline of SAPL too. Docs were being updated, and people weren't playing games. People didn't have great attitudes, and I just thought, I can do this better. Like, I would be a better league owner than all of these people, which I think I've proved over the last 5 seasons of my league being alive. But it was quite unfortunate seeing how DBA went and how ridiculous it was. The tiers were awful, but there was no criticism. Like, we weren't really allowed to give criticism on the tiers at the time. And sorry, I just spilled some water, so I gotta spilled some water on myself while I was recording. But Yeah. Mount Silver Season 2 was really fun. I got Magearna again. So in my first 3 months of playing Draft League, I got Magearna twice, which is kind of ridiculous, but it's just how it goes. SAPL Season 4, I had a really good team, actually. The only game I lost the entire season was to another TJ. Not the one who ran DBA Season 1, but a TJ who I met in LET, who's a cool dude. And he was the only person to beat me in week 1, and then I went on to win my next 7 games, I think. 6 or 7, I think it was 6. 6 games. I won 6 games in a row before I left in week 8. And there was a lot of us who left. But let's talk more about DBA Season 1. I didn't really do well there. It was my first league where I did not make playoffs, unless you include CCBL, which I wouldn't. I replaced for 4 weeks at the end of a 13-week season. And I went 2-1, or sorry, 3-1 in those, and I missed playoffs because it was only top 4, so not really much you can do there. The format was just really poor on CCPL Season 1. It wasn't even ran by Crimson Seabat, it was Wonky, one of his, who wasn't even a mod at the time actually, but wouldn't accept any help on the dock work. The dock looked horrible and all those things. Looking back on it, it was probably not the best decision, but I got to meet some cool people by being in the Crimson Seabat server. Some really close friends of mine, Shade and Tiff and Ace now, who I talk to pretty much every single day. NCL Season 1 was really successful. I made finals and played Cade in the finals and lost. It was a pretty dominant season, 10-2 season, and it was just sort of a gang of friends until the drama with SAPL Season 4, which involved Blade, who was part of NCL Season 1, and essentially I didn't agree with what Blade was doing. I thought it was criminal, to be honest, and so I left SAPL because I didn't agree with what he was doing. I didn't want to be associated with that or have any questions from the police about that whole situation. If you don't know the situation, I'm not going to explain it in this. Let me repeat myself. I am not going to explain the situation in this. If you know someone on Discord who knows the situation and is willing to talk about it, then by all means talk to them about it. Not me. I don't want any part of this. I was done with this back in January or February 2018 when this happened. I'm not going to go into more depth than I don't agree with what Blade was doing. I left the server. He left NCL in retribution. That's perfectly fine. I just completely severed contact with him because I did not even remotely agree with what he was doing. I thought it was entirely illegal. So that's what happened with SAPL Season 4. I wasn't the only person who did that, by the way. About half of the league dropped out, half of the league being over 18 and had a mind of their own to make that decision. And people later on realized that that was a very stupid thing to do by staying there. And they ended up cutting ties later as well. But that was the drama that happened there. And it brought Nacho into NCL, which was good in the long run. Nacho was a very positive impact on the NCL community, and I'm very glad that he joined. And then we move into February 2018, where UPBA Season 2 started up. I started the league 2-0, and then dropped this one as well. And these are my only 2 drops, and they're both due to random drama. So let's talk about this before I get into EPTL Season 2, because EPTL Season 2 as well. So I joined EPTL Season 2, which was Cade's League for Ultra Sun and Moon. I performed very poorly. I went 6-7 in a 13-week season, and Thunderous Incarnate is just not a mon that I can use, apparently. I just don't understand how to use that Pokemon, clearly. I've used it later on as well, and it's horrible for me. I think I have 1 kill with it in like 14 or 15 games. It's really bad for me. It doesn't make sense, and that was pretty much the idea of this team. I had a Sun team with Mega Houndoom and stuff, and it just never really got off the floor until late in the season. I ended up winning like 4 games in a row later on into the season, and I just barely missed out on playoffs. Not much you can do about it, really, but that season wasn't great for me. Learning experience for sure, especially with using a ton of different new mods. Mudsdale was like my kill leader. Mudsdale, Kartana were kill leaders. Learned to love both of them. And then anyways, UPB Season 2, I drafted a really comfortable team, one that I thought would do really well for me down the line actually, and ended up dropping in week 3, as well as half of the league. So the owner, that guy named Bob, who I mentioned before, who's now popped up under a bunch of different names trying to contact me under different alts, saying, oh, can you help me draft this team and stuff? And I'm not I'm not stupid. I know exactly who it is. He got really mad about this, but basically, I was pretty much running the league at the time. No, I shut up, Siri. I didn't say you. Okay. Anyways, I was pretty much running the league at the time. He was pretty much just a figurehead, and I had control over all of the dock work and whatnot because it was really sloppy on his part, and he was still in high school, and I had a lot more time to deal with it. And so he ended up trying to drop Primarina for something else, and then pick it back up and say that it didn't cost a transaction after he'd already played a game because he was picking up the same mon. It was bullshit. It was horrible. Cade fought him on it for a really long time, and then basically Bob said, "I'm kicking Cade," and I'm like, "That's literally not fair because you're the one who's being an idiot right now." And I said, "All right, well, I'm gonna leave too then if you're kicking him because that's just ridiculous, and I don't want to be associated with this if you're gonna be ridiculous." So he's like, "All right, that's fine, whatever." And so we both left, and then I decided to spite him, which in hindsight I probably would still do again, even though that it was extremely spiteful and it was like really childish. I would still probably do it. Not even that I'm more mature now and I shouldn't do it, but it was way too funny, and it really brought a lot of friends closer together with me. But I ended up locking the dock from his use. I removed his admin privileges from the dock so that he couldn't edit them at all, and I removed copy privileges so he couldn't copy it either. So he had no access to the schedule, anything like that, and the league essentially would have to either rebuild a brand new dock with all of the stuff on it that I had built, or he was going to have to suck it up and be the bigger man and just shut the whole thing down, which I believe is actually what ended up happening. But Austin and Jed both left with me. Magic and Mortal left later, and it really cemented their friendships. Especially Austin, being on my side at the end of all of it with Bob, and that was just really funny at the time. But it was the last league that I've ever dropped was back in February 2018, and again, the only two leagues I've ever dropped were SAPL Season 4, UPB Season 2, due to either behavioral issues or legal things that I didn't want to be a part of. March 2018, LET Season 2 started up, and I played very inconsistently. I had a relatively powerful team with Hoop Unbound and Zygarde 50% that I ended up trading later for Kyurem Black. It was a pretty inconsistent team, though, overall. I dropped like Mimikyu, which I franchised for Sylveon, just to get more defensive stability paired with the Suicune. It wasn't fantastic of a season. I still made playoffs. I made quarterfinals. Played Jay, and he just smacked me with Mega V Drill. It just dominated my team. I had no counterplay to it at all. Yeah, and so that's kind of where I grew into a rivalry here with Jay. After playing him a couple times, EPTL Season 2, or maybe this was my first times playing him. Oh, Mount Silver, I played him a couple times as well. So playing Jay for the first few times and building up a rivalry with him, which is to this day very strong. April 2018, I started in AABL Season 4, which was quite a big league, run by A-Drive's mod team. I didn't play that well. It could have been better. I got hacks out of a lot of games. My team was not the greatest. I decided to build around Mega Gardevoir after getting sniped on Victini early on into the draft, and it wasn't fantastic. This whole season is up on my YouTube channel, as well as LET Season 1, UPBA Season 2, UPBA Season 1, NCL Season 1, and PCL Season 1, D&D Season 6. I uploaded a lot of this. Everything but the Wi-Fi leagues except for LET Season 1, basically. CCBL is on there as well. Until DBA, which I didn't want to upload, and Mount Silver, which I didn't want to upload. So here we are in AABL Season 4. I end up not making playoffs, which is whatever, really. It didn't really matter. I learned a lot about the team, and I got in to the league in the first place, which is exactly what I wanted, just to sort of get more exposure to my YouTube channel and stuff, and hopefully make some more friends, which I did. We made friends with Fizzle the Hizzle, who I then invited to NCL right away. It was motivation for me to make NCL better with all of the horrible rules that I saw in this league that was so large. They just had warped ideas about what rules were good and what rules were were not good, which I ended up helping them fix in the next season. There were still some rules I didn't agree with back in AABL season 5, but I did help them maneuver that because I definitely didn't agree with some of those things. And who knows, maybe I could be the one that's wrong, and maybe their idea of the rules is completely justified, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But a few things that I didn't agree with, for example, not being able to drop tier 1s and tier 2s for other tier 1s and tier 2s and being forced to pick up a tier 3 or lower in their place is just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm a little bit sick, so I need to grab some water there. May 2018, I ended up starting Mount Silver Season 3. So I wasn't originally going to join this Mount Silver Season 3. It wasn't on my list of leagues that I was going to join. I was going to take a break from Mount Silver, come back in Season 4. But somebody dropped out week 1, and so I ended up replacing and finishing out the whole season, which is actually ironically what is going to happen now in Mount Silver Season 7. Someone dropped out week 1. I wasn't going to play, and it's my first Donate League. And I'm taking over team from week 1 and finishing out the season essentially. But Mount Silver Season 3 is sort of where I started seeing my own inconsistency a little bit more, especially in Mount Silver. Silver Season 2, I made semifinals, and then I've never made playoffs since then. I haven't even made playoffs since then. Season 3, 4, 5, 6, haven't made playoffs in any of them. And it's just been really bad luck. I'm kind of cursed. Without having McGarren on the team, I'm just blatantly cursed in that league, and I can't make playoffs, so I'm going to try and change that this season. But that was pretty much what happened in Mount Silver Season 3. I had a lot of comfort stuff that I'd used before, Celesteela, Darmanitan, Mega Metacham, things of that nature, and I just couldn't pull it off. In June 2018, you guys can't see it on the end there, but it says continuation of NCL, start of Nepal as a core league, new format in Waylord, and Waylord is at the end there as well. So EPTL Season 3 started, which I absolutely dominated, made all the way to semifinals in. I got robbed in semifinals by some hacks, and I should have made finals and won that league. NCL Season 2 started, which I finished with the best regular season record once again, and then I lost in semifinals to Hacks, again due to Fizzle the Hizzle. Lost out on a crit on my Como from his Crocodile, which shouldn't have happened, and I would have been able to win that whole league as well. Nepal Season 3, which I took over in week 3 or something. I didn't win a ton of games. My team was really bad because there wasn't a ton of stuff left over. It was one of my first points-based leagues besides Mount Silver. And then Waylord, which is also on my channel. NCL Season 2 and Waylord are both on my channel. Waylord was the Tier 3 and below league that I played in, the Jed ran. I was super excited about that league, actually. It was a ton of fun. Didn't really meet anyone new that I would like, but definitely some people that I didn't like very much. Besides Baconborn, I love Baconborn. He's a cool dude. And he ended up winning that league after taking over for Fizzle the Hizzle, which is kind of funny. He wasn't really well known at the time, but he's kind of a superstar in LD and DPL and stuff now. But that was June 2018, and then in July 2018, I got my first big break. I'd heard about Red from Jay for a while, and I got invited to Red by Regenix, and it was an opening to larger leagues with a bigger name where I could get my name out there and prove myself against better players. And I played really well all season, and I had a really solid record. I think I went 10-3 after 13 weeks, or 9-4. I can't remember off the top of my head. With my triple bug team, it was a super weird team where I started out with like Alakazam, Mega Alakazam, Buzzwole, and it was a very weird team on paper. It shouldn't have done as well as it did, but I piloted it really well. That whole season is up on my YouTube channel as well, and I played really well. I got third place. I lost to Evan in the finals after Vic got the bye. And then Sprague Grail Cup Season 1. This was a little cup league run by Mapston. He invited me on as a replacement. I went 4-1 as a replacement team in the regular season. people weren't playing their games, so we cut the season short and just started playoffs right away with everyone in playoffs. So we started with a round of 16 that I won, and then quarterfinals that I won, and then semifinals. My opponent didn't show up for a month. I'd been planning times, he wouldn't show up for times. We'd planned a new time, he wouldn't show up for times. And so essentially, I just claimed the FF win. Mapston couldn't care less at that point. He was trying to deal with his real life stuff. I just claimed the FF win. The other side of the bracket at the time wasn't even finished. Their round of 16 or quarterfinals matches for some of them. And so I ended up just claiming the title unofficially. No one in the league knows this, so it's not official. It's an unofficial title for myself. But I was the last one standing, and so we'll call that a title at that point. Essentially, it died in semifinals for me, but it's such a sad thing to say that a league dies in semifinals. I'd rather say that I earned my way to that title with the 6-1 record after picking up the team. And I grew to love Little Cup a little bit from that, I'm not going to lie. It was like randomized Little Cup, so we got randomized teams, and my team is pretty solid. I had Archon and Abra that put in a lot of work that season. Archon was a monster, got like 17 kills. Abra had like 10 as well. It was a super solid team, and I really enjoyed Little Cup. In August 2018, I joined PTL Season 1 and LET Season 3. Now, this is probably the worst two decisions that I've ever made. But PTL Season 1, man, PTL was just such a bad experience for me. Season 1, I actually really enjoyed my time, but the whole playoff structure was bullshit. It was 3 divisions. I was in the lowest division. The way they decided divisions at the time. Okay, so it was originally an older league called NSTL that had moved into becoming a new league and expanding themselves. So the people who were part of NSTL were allowed to be part of the top division in PTL, and it wasn't skill based or anything. So some really bad players were playing in the top division there. And then Division 2 was from one of their other leagues, so players like Ace were playing Division 2, and then the last remaining spots in Division 2 and Division 3 were decided by a Mew Metronome tournament, which is total bullshit. So I just decided to opt out of the Metronome tournament. I was like, no, this is a horrible idea. I'm just going to take my spot in Division 3 and work my way up to where I deserve to be, which is Division 1. I went 12-3 that season in a 15-week season. I demolished a lot of good players. I got really lucky against a lot of good players. I beat people like Monatubi, like Ultra Player that season, who should not have been in Division 3, by the way, but that's really besides the point. Going 12-3 netted me the top spot the second highest? Third highest. I think I was the third highest record in the division, which was stupid. 12-3 plus 20 or something. My differential wasn't very good. But I ended up not making playoffs, which, again, is ridiculous, because they only took 2 teams from Division 3 were able to make playoffs that season. Again, ridiculous. It should not have been that way, but it was 8 teams in playoffs from all 3 divisions. So 48 people and one winner, which was so stupid. It was just a huge red flag. And so we didn't make playoffs, but we promoted to Division 2, which we'll get into later in PTL Season 2, which is going to come up later on down the timeline here. And then LET Season 3, I did not end up making playoffs. I played very poorly in the regular season. My team was pretty whack. I decided to try Lando T for the first time because I'd been in all these leagues and I'd never had a chance to draft Lando T. So I took it, I hated it, dropped it, and made a comeback at the end of the season, but just barely missed out on making playoffs. I had more issues than that, though. We ended up cutting the season short because people weren't motivated to play their games. I had a lot of drama go down with Eco with this season, and I just wasn't comfortable. I stepped down from my admin position because he was kind of being a dick. I'm not going to say that lightly, and I don't even care if he watches this and sees that. He should know that he was being a dick, because if he looks back on it, he could realize that he was being a complete and utter asshat about it, and he was not treating TJ with any respect. Which comes back later, and that's not even my place to talk about it, because it's not my league, and it's not my relationships, but there you go. September, that was a horrible decision to join that league, and that was the last Wi-Fi league I've ever been a part of. Was back in August 2018. I decided I'm going to hang up my shoes on the Wi-Fi department. I'm not having any more success in LET. I don't really want to join another Wi-Fi league until much later, actually, which was this past summer. I did want to join one last Wi-Fi league for a little bit because I wanted to get back into the Wi-Fi swing, but I found a lot more success in Showdown later on, so I stuck to Showdown. I could do more leagues en masse playing Showdown. A Wi-Fi league takes up about 3 leagues worth of time, like 3 Showdown leagues worth of time for me. So, um, and just the stress of having to get a team genned and sent over to me before I can play the game, rather than me being the only one responsible for building my teams, just made me feel a lot more comfortable playing Showdown. September 2018, I stepped in as a replacement in MWPA Season 5. I ended up going 2-1 in my replacement matches in an 8-week season. I made playoffs in like the last possible seed, and then I won both of my matchups in playoffs, and I won another title. My road to that title, excuse me, is on this YouTube channel as well. It's the last time I've uploaded MWPA. We're coming into MWPA Season 8. I promoted to Venus, and then I did not have a lot of success there, which I'll talk about, I guess, when I go over MWPA Season 6 and Season 7. Free draft is just not really my style from what I've found, but I still enjoy it. I took over a team that was already drafted, so that was really easy for me to get into and just use the team how I wanted to or how I needed to win games, rather than trying to draft my own free draft team, which I tend to have a lot of holes in, and I tend to draft like a bunch of stuff that I want to bring every week, but I don't have room for everything every week, and it's a big issue for my drafting and free draft, but that was all that happened in September 2018. October 2018, Mount Silver Season 4, which was just a complete and utter disaster. I did not play well in Mount Silver Season 4 at all. I had a Mega Beedrill Jolteon core, and I just Volt turned on everybody over and over and over and over again, trying to protect Celesteela with Jolteon Arcanine as immunities for both of Celesteela's weaknesses, but it didn't end up working out, and I went 6-6 and missed playoffs. NCL Season 3, this was the first taste of expansion. Previously, we were a 12-team league, and then I moved up to a 16-team league. Make drafting a little bit more difficult, make playoffs a little bit more competitive. I actually missed out on playoffs this season because I went 7-5, and we still had divisions when I expanded to 16 teams. So instead of being like the top one from each division, anyways, I missed out on playoffs because I was in a division, and I didn't get a wild card spot because my conference was too strong. Ended up really sucking. But it was a taste of humility and definitely a lesson in terms of moving away from divisions. I had already planned to do that earlier, but I was too lazy to input it that season, so I just moved it to the next season, which was a big mistake at the time. But yeah, no playoffs for me in either of those leagues in October 2018. In November 2018, I joined SSBL Season 1, which was Fizzle's Ben's league, and I played really well, actually. I exceeded my own expectations. I was like second overall or third overall at the end of the regular season. Yeah, I think I was third because I didn't get a bye in the quarterfinals, but I played really, really well. I beat Dave. I beat Dougal in the regular season. Dougal was a meme match, to be fair, but I did beat Dave in that regular season, who was second. And then I ended up getting a forfeit win in quarterfinals, and losing in semifinals to Dave in a very tight match. And Dave would go on to lose in finals, I think. But that was a pretty successful season for me, using a bunch of new stuff as well in mons like Incineroar, Dragonite. I really wanted to try out Dragonite, Mega Mawile. I had Mega Mawile, getting more comfortable with Zapdos. But I tried a strat of covering Dragonite with a Thick Fat user in Walrein, which actually ended up working out really well. I think I took like 1% from a Thunderous Theory and HP Ice or something ridiculous, just because Thick Fat with a 4x resist is pretty ridiculous. It's either a times 6 or times 8 resist after Thick Fat, and it's pretty ridiculous how well you can resist ice types at that point. Oh, I'm losing my voice here. Nepal Season 4 also started up, which I didn't end up playing that well in. I can't remember if I made playoffs in this season or not. We'll have to find out after I'm done the timeline and we go through the stats. But It was my first time drafting in Nepal. I don't remember what I took. I remember getting pretty unlucky. Yeah, this season's escaping my memory. I don't remember what happened most of the season. I think I had like Kurm. Oh no, I think I made quarterfinals or the first round, whatever you want to call it. I had Kurm Black and Mew on this team. I beat Tails. That's pretty much all I remember. Oh no, I 6-0'd Blue in the season. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I made quarterfinals in this season. I had a really scary team. There was a lot of good offensive stuff. I ended up drafting like Coco Mega Scissor and then trading all of it away and just went with a completely different style, and that style worked for me a lot better. It turns out I can't use Thundy Eye or Tapu Koko for anything, so yeah, Coco's not my thing, and I kind of discovered that in that season. December 2018, we started MWPA Season 6, where I had been promoted to Venus. Uh, the way the divisions work in MWPA is the closer the planet is to the sun, the better the competition. And so Venus is the second highest division behind Mercury. So I've been promoted to Venus after winning Earth, and I struggled. I went 3-5. I did not make playoffs. My team wasn't super good. I wasn't really comfortable with it, and that's just sort of how it ended. An 8-week league doesn't give you a lot of room to work around hacks or anything like that, so I wasn't super successful with that. In January 2019, I joined GSA Season 6, PTL Season 2, and WPL Season 8. So WPL Season 8 and PTL Season 2 are both on my channel. WPL Season 8, I massacred the regular season and then got knocked out by Lux in the quarterfinals. He's a really good player, and I underestimated him entirely. In hindsight, that was not a good series for me. But PTL Season 2, I dominated the regular season in Division 2. I went all the way to finals and lost the finals by not getting a flinch in my favor or not getting a higher roll in my favor with my Jirachi against the Incineroar. Just how it goes, really. I probably deserved that finals win. I played really well in the finals match, and I played really well all season. Didn't come down to it. We did not pick up the victory. GSA Season 6, this is Blues League Grand Showdown Association. It was my first experience playing in minors there. I started off the season very poorly with an Ash Greninja team, and I ended up coming back and winning my last 5. I think I went 0-5 or 0-4, and then I was 1-4, 1-5, and then I won my last 4 games to make playoffs in the 8th seed, and I barely lost to Aaron in the quarterfinals, who ended up going on to win the whole thing. So that was a fun time, though. I made playoffs there. In February, Red Season 8 started, and I was promoted to the Yellow Division, which is the highest division, as well as Mount Silver Season 5. I had a lot of issues in Mount Silver Season 5. This is where I drafted Thunderous Incarnate again, which was a huge, awful decision. I took Sand again, I think, or at least I had Tyranitar, I believe. I had Victini on that team. That's pretty much all I remember about that team. I had Celesteela again. I drafted Celesteela like 4 seasons in a row, and funnily enough, I actually have Celesteela again this season. But I didn't take it last season, so it was like 4 seasons in a row. 3 seasons in a row. 3, 4, 5, and then I didn't take it 6, and now I have it in 7. But yeah, Celesteela was like a problem for me in that league. And then Red Season 8, I played really well at the beginning. I had a bad streak of games in the middle end, and then I lost to Bad Hacks in quarterfinals against Vic. That definitely could have been a win for me, but if you go back and rewatch it, it was not a consistent strat at all. Anyways, I'm still a little bit salty about it, but I made quarterfinals in Red Season 8 against the best competition I'd ever played against, and I was super happy about that. It sort of proved to me that I was a better player than I thought I was going to be. With a team I wasn't comfortable with piloting, it was a very defensive team, and that's pretty much all it had going for it was defense. Had like no removal, even though it wasn't weak to removal. It was my first experience with Clefable, although I had Clefable at the same time in PTL Season 2. PTL Season 2 is my first experience with Megalopony, which was huge. I love that Pokemon now. March 2019, this was my first big tournament. I had joined the GBA Fan Draft League and made top 64 or 32. I can't remember now. I think it was 32 actually. Could have been 64 though. I don't remember. Back in July of 2018, I joined that, and I won out of pools and then did really well, and I won one level of the brackets, whatever stage that was. In 2019, in March, I joined the March Madness tournament because I finally had time. I wasn't around in the summer to do the previous summer to do Summer Showdown, and I didn't bother signing up for March Madness 2018. But I found a lot of success in March Madness 2019. I really pissed off Kara with a really solid Mew set that just 6-0'd her entire team, and I think she's still probably salty about it, to be honest. I found out that I didn't like her as a person. Simeon or Fivimian, whatever. She's kind of a bitch, and that's mainly because of what I experienced with that match in March Madness 2019. She was just not a pleasant person to me, and I don't think that she's ever going to be a pleasant person to me. So I've just resigned myself to that. It's whatever. NCL Season 4 started. I had expanded again, and we expanded to a 12-team Blitzel division, so adding a second division, which I think was a smart decision. It has enlarged the NCL community. I love it a lot. And I found out that I really struggle against Hamu, which was one of the themes for later on as well. That's kind of where I found out that I really struggle against Hamu. But I can't remember if that was NCL Season 3 or not. I thought that was around Christmas. So that must have been NCL Season 3. And then in Season 4, I lost again, and I got really salty about it. Yeah, that's what it was. But it was the second match against him, and I just couldn't handle it. I played really well in NCL Season 4. I lost to Hamu in semifinals. I think I finished with the best regular season record again, barely beating out Jay this season. April 2019, I played in ABDL Season 1 and NPL Season 9. So we'll start with ABDL. This is an anonymous Battlers Draft League run by Shade. We were all under alts. We knew all of the people playing. We just didn't know which alt they were playing under, which is changed for future ABDL seasons, I believe. Which is a good change because it was kind of like, oh, well, I know that one of these games is against Ace, so I can try less hard once I figure out who that person is, kind of thing. I played really well that season. I picked off a lot of the teams. I lost against Hamu again, which was heartbreaking. I was the only team to take an Arceus type. It was an Uber season. People were trying out Ubers as we were getting really tired of the Gen 7 format. And then I broke into NPL Season 9. I'd played in their tryout tournament and did not earn myself a spot in NPL Minors. And then NPL was kind of dying at the end of the season, and they needed people in Majors, so I kind of got promoted, and I took a spot in Majors. I went 2-1. I beat Spextar and Carney Hobo, and I lost to Halu Nasty. They did not invite me to playoffs, despite being one of the most active coaches that they had at the time. They had 8 other people who had finished out the season. This was my other experience with Thunderous Incarnate, which was awful. I hacked Spextar out. I beat Carney fair and square, and Halu picked up a team that was just absolutely nasty. And that was my experience with NPL. You can see NPL on my channel, as well as NCL Season 4 on my channel, of course. I don't think I uploaded March Madness. I could be wrong. Red Sea Snake will be on this channel as well. May 2019, I ended up joining MWPA Season 7, WWC Season 3, and AABL Season 5. WWC Season 3 was my third official title. You can see my playoffs run on my YouTube channel. It's a movie. AABL Season 5 is also on my channel. I went 9-1 in the regular season and then lost to Zach in quarterfinals in a match that I definitely could have won. But I didn't prep well enough, and that was my downfall. That's pretty much all there was to that season, honestly. And then MWPA Season 7, I went 2-6 in Venus again, and I got relegated. That was difficult. Not a lot of people went positive. Only the top 4 who all made playoffs went positive out of the 10 of us, or 12 of us. I can't remember if that had expanded in 12 yet, but 10, I guess. Yeah, it was heartbreaking, honestly. I drafted a really good team. I beat Slade and Shiny Sableye Ben, and lost everyone else. I got hacked out of my first couple games, and unfortunately in an 8-week season, like I mentioned before, you can't really avoid that. That's just how it goes. So, just kind of sucked there. WWC Season 3 dragged on for a long time. We didn't finish until, I believe, October. September or October is when I played finals, but um, there was a few bye weeks. Our draft took a really long time. One of the bye weeks was designed. Another bye week was for people to catch up on games. There was a bye week between playoffs. And then I think I had another bye week because I played Slick Panther in round one and he couldn't play me on the weekend, which is the only time that like Pacific time, like I'm on the west coast of North America and he's in Ireland, and that's like the only time that that time zone works to play is the weekend. He just couldn't play me on the weekend, so we had to push it back another week or something. So yeah, that season dragged on for a while, but we ended up coming out with the W, which was the important part there. And AABL Season 5 showed me that I can be very consistent, and I think that showed through a lot in my last run of leagues, which we'll get to once we get up to August here. But June 2019, I ended up joining Nepal Season 5, which was a Gen 6 league. And we did it in a funky way. It was an auction draft, so you had to bid on Pokemon and stuff. I got a pretty cool team. I bid a lot of my budget on Mew, Zapdos, and Megalopoly. I picked up a good supporting cast behind it, and then I ended up having points left over that I just couldn't use by the time drops came around. I made the third round of playoffs. I won 2 rounds of playoffs, I believe. 2 or 1. I don't remember anymore. I won at least 1 round of playoffs. And then lost out there to Dre. He said, I'm going to bring 6 choice bands. And I didn't believe him. And then he brought 6 choice bands. And I was like, oh. And I could have prepped for that, but I didn't. And so he won his 3rd back-to-back title there. And then in July 2019, I joined Mount Silver Season 6 and OLT Season 4. Well, sorry, OLT Season 4 Unity. It was not OLT's 4th season, but the 4th season. I don't know. I don't know. It was Unity. I was in like the 3rd division because that's just how we were placed. I played pretty well. It was another 8-week season. I think I went 5-3 in the end, and I made playoffs. And I got cucked in semifinals by some more hacks, but at least I made semifinals. And Mount Silver Season 6 was Ubers, and I went 5-5, barely missed out on playoffs by like 1 differential point. It was ridiculous. I got hacked a few times this season, and that's just sort of how it goes. But my luck did turn quite significantly after July. In August, I decided to join more leagues, and so I was up to 11 leagues at the same time, just to try and eke out some more titles for myself before the end of the generation, honestly. Just improve as quickly as I could. I played in NCL Season 5, PSS Season 5, UTL Season 11, GSA Season 7, Red End of Gen 7 tournament, which should have been a full season, and Hive Season 6 Weedle. I'm going to go in order. After Red. So Red was a tournament technically, but I treated it as a full season. It was a 7-week season. I went 5-2 or 5-2, I think. And I made playoffs and lost out in the first round. And GSA Season 7, I performed very poorly in. I started out really poorly once again, like I did in GSA Season 6 minors. I could have pulled it back. I won a couple games, but I didn't win enough that I was going to be in a position to make playoffs. I drafted a very poor team. I learned that I did not like a Mega Venusaur with that draft, that's for sure. And I didn't make playoffs there. UTL Season 11, I won. I just won. It should be the last video on my channel, actually, is my playoff run in UTL Season 11. PSS Season 5 was interesting. It's Hamu's league that I had done power rankings 2 seasons in a row previously, and so I joined it to try and make my impact on the league, prove to myself that I could do it there as well. I drafted some funky stuff, had some weird tier 5s. We banned Earthquake. That season, Earthquake was banned because it was the most common killed move, and we wanted to see what a meta would look like with no Earthquake and no Zygardes because those moves were way too broken. So it was heavy on like Ladner Incarnate. I had Nidoqueen on my team, so Earth Power Spammers were really good. Steel types and Fire types became amazing. Water types became really good because they could wall Steel types and Fire types. electric types could have ran more house because ground types weren't as important because of the earthquake ban. There were a few cool unbans. I had regular Deoxys on my team, but it wasn't allowed to use Psyche MZ. Lugia was allowed with pressure. Hoa was allowed with pressure. Groudon was allowed with no Precipice Blades, things like that. I made quarterfinals, and I don't even know what to say about that. I matched up against Byron. It was a very winnable game, but I got frozen. I didn't thaw. I switched to something else. He froze it. I didn't thaw, and I just quit. I clicked X. I could not bear to sit through that. He essentially froze two of my responses to what he was in with, and they were my only two responses what he was in with, and I couldn't do anything after that point. Freeze is the most bullshit mechanic in the entire game if you don't thaw right away. It was complete horse shit, and I just quit. It was whatever to me. Byron made finals and lost in finals. It didn't matter. NCL Season 5 I just obliterated. That's also on my channel. You guys can see that. No one was even close to me that entire season, and then I lost in semifinals to Stu with a strat that I had talked about in the team builder. I came in, I was as prepared for that as I could be, and I ended up missing a Leech Seed, which cost me the game. What can you do, really? And then let's get to Hive. So I was invited to Hive in July. This was one of my goals of Draft League entirely. Took me almost 2 years to get there, but I did it. And I stepped in as a replacement early on into the season, week 3, week 4. I made playoffs in Hive. I was not expecting to make it as deep as I did. I had some really close matches the entire way through. All three of my playoff games were 1-0s, and we won quarters and we won semis, and then we barely lost finals to Nathan, who brought Mach Punch and Fernape against me, even though I didn't think it was a good set, and he beat me with it in the finals of Hive Season 6. So I got second place, lost out in finals. Quite unfortunate, but this is how it goes. And that was August 2019. And now here we are in December 2019, which is actually hidden by my logo. On the far left of this timeline, it says December 2019. And here we are. UTL Season 11 was my final Gen 7 league. And now I can get out of full screen here. There you go, December 2019 down here. Thank you to Visme for this. I probably don't have to shout them out, but it says it everywhere on this stupid timeline. Let's talk about stats. So here are my Gen 7 stats, records-wise. This is my doc where I track all of my stats. This is a list of all of my leagues, my win-loss in them. This is my Gen 8 cutoff. But in the order that I joined them and stuff, I've got games played, wins, losses, differential, playoff games, playoff wins, losses, differential, and it's all compiled here. So I won 362 games in Gen 7. I lost 221, which was a win-loss ratio of 1.64. I think that's very impressive. I will win 1.64 games for every loss, is what that means. I had a total differential of plus 520 in 583 games, and I won 62.09% of my games. So you could pretty much count on me to have about a 60% win ratio, which was 6-4 in a 10-week season, right? That's pretty much what that tells you. I think that shows incredible consistency. I had some wild breakout seasons and some horrific ones. This one is a breakout season to me. 12-3 plus 30, 10-2 plus 24, 10-2 plus 31, 10-2 plus 30, 11-4 plus 20 is not bad either. That's what my PTL Season 3 record was. Where's my Nepal Season 4? Nepal Season 4, hello? Anybody? Season 3, Nacho. Here it is. 6-6 plus 4. I did make playoffs and I lost in round 1 to Jay that season. Yeah, that's right. 6-6 plus 4. 10-2 plus 22, 10-2 plus 27, 10-2 plus 30, 9-3 plus 34, 10-2 plus 31, 11-1 plus 25, 9-3 plus 18. I mean, these are really good records, and then I have some really shit ones like GSA. 3-7 minus 8, DBA wherever that is, DBA 5-7 minus 15. I mean, it's not normal that you see me like that. 3-7 minus 13 here in Nacho Everyday Pokemon League Season 3. 3 and 8, minus 16 in Cuba. I completely forgot that I even joined Cuba. Where was that on my timeline? I just forgot to add Cuba to my timeline, apparently. 3 and 5, minus 13. These are pretty brutal records to see on some people, but I ended up pulling through in a lot of these seasons, and I'm really proud of myself. So those are my Gen 7 stats. Tournament stats, I took like the top 10 Mons that I've used in tournaments. This is the GDS Invitational 2, which is Tier 3 and below. Draft League Summit 1, which was the end of Gen 7 tournament that I helped run. NCL was a sponsor of that. LET Monotype Tournament, which I had Mono Fairy in that tournament. NPL Tryouts, which I had a really fun team for. Summer Showdown 2019, March Madness 2019, the GBA Fan Draft League 2, and I think that's it. So Mega Scissor, I had twice in both of the TTM tournaments I had. I've used it for 13 games, 15 and 5, not bad. Mimikyu's up there, Terrakion's up there, Tapu Koko is up there mainly from my monotype run. Mew is up there. You know, these are March Madness mons that I used. I took all the way to brackets. I didn't make brackets in Summer Showdown. Just barely missed out on brackets in Summer Showdown, actually. Mega Gallade, Nidoking, Cloyster from my original runs in the Fandraft League. Same with Mega Manectric and Celesteela. And then Azumarill as well from the monotype tournament that I was in. And then in terms of my all-time performance, this is a list of all of the mons that I've ever used, all of their stats, what leagues I used them in. And I just took the top 25. I have 3 titles with Mimikyu. I've used it so many times, 112 kills. Zapdos, definitely one of my favorite Pokemon to use. Finally got a championship with it in WWC Season 3. Darmanitan, I unfortunately do not have a title with, although it's definitely my most loved fire type. For some reason, the sorting only takes into account direct kills, even if I'll sort my column D, so I don't know how to stop that. But Celesteela, which has more kills, I finally have a championship with it in MWPA Season 5. I love Celesteela so much. It's just so versatile. I love using it. Garchomp, which I finally got a title with in UTL Season 11. After drafting it a lot. I had it one time in Mount Silver Season 2, and then you'll notice WPL Season 8 was January. So, like, 2019, I drafted it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and I won 1 title with it, which is really embarrassing. Magearna, I managed to get my hands on 3 times this generation in Mount Silver, LET, and ABDL. No titles with it, but I made some impressive playoff runs in all of those seasons with it. Megalopony, which I just absolutely fell in love with. I only drafted Megalopony 3 times, and it put in a lot of work. Nidoking, which I'm very proficient at using apparently. I've got a really good KD ratio with it, despite only drafting it 3 times. 2 of those being AABLs. It was a kill leader in AABL Season 5. It had a ridiculous amount of kills in that season, and LET Season 1 it was part of the backbone of that team. Manaphy, which I really turned on the heat in Nepal Season 5 with. It got a lot of kills in that season, and that's about it for Manaphy. I mean, I wasn't great at using Manaphy in any of the other seasons. Mega Beedrill is by far my favorite Mega to use, by a long shot. It's actually probably either Mega Beedrill or Mega Diancie. But Mega Beedrill is like really fun to use. Just pivot around over and over and over and over again. Mega Alakazam I finally picked up a title with in UTL Season 11. I drafted it 3 times and have a title with it now. Mega Latios, which I've used a couple times now, or a few times I should say, in LET, PTL, and MWPA. It's just an offensive powerhouse. You kind of just run 4 moves with it. Mega Metachan, which is just an absolute monster of a breaker. I've used a few times now as well. Kyurem Black, I'm starting to love a lot more, although I'm using it worse and worse. My 1 title with it is UPBA Season 1, and I'm going downhill with it for sure. Hoop Unbound, which I've also found quite a love for back in NCL Season 4. I have not won a title with yet. Mega Mewtwo Y is somehow on my list of top 25 kill leaders from a single season. 15 games. It has 29 kills and 5 deaths. Mega Mewtwo Y was a monster, and the main reason that I won that WWC season, despite it doing almost nothing in playoffs, it carried me in the regular season because people could not deal with it, and they didn't want to prep for it. But then when playoffs came around, they had to prep for it, and I decided to put it in the back burner. Zygarde 50%, which I'm kind of comfortable with, actually. I ended up winning MWPA Season 5 with it. I'm not a huge fan of the Mon in general, but it's performed decently well for me in all the leagues I've had it. Mega Gallade, which is just stupid broken, honestly. Like, it's the only Mon with this many games. Like, it's only 13 games played, but it's got 28 kills. Hello? I've only taken it twice. It's got 28 kills. It's averaging 14 kills a season. SAPL Season 3, I picked up the team and dropped Megalopony for it because it was a Veil team. I played like 6 games that season, and then I brought it to 7 games in OLT Season 4, and it's 28 kills! It's over 2 kills a game! This mod is nuts! So good! Oh my god. Infernape I've used a few times now. I have 2 titles with it, in UPPA and MWPA. It's really versatile. I bring it to a lot of games when I have it, and it's kind of utility-based as well. Mostly a Scarfer. Greninja, I just have a lot of games with, so it gets a lot of kills. I don't actually like Greninja that much. It just ends up getting a lot of kills because you use it a lot. Mega Diancie is a mon that I've absolutely fallen in love with, having barely used it, honestly. NCL Season 4 is most of these games. I mean, that's 14 of the 23 games right there. I really only played 9 games with it in GSA and NPL. Victini, I've started to love quite a bit. Barely used that as well. Buzzwole is like definitely a top 10 mon for me in terms of just enjoyment of using it. Really love using Buzzwole. Donphan I've drafted way too many times. The only reason it's this high up is because I've got 51 games played with it. You know, you don't see that up until like the 68 games played with Garchomp or something. I've taken it in NCL Season 1, Red Season 7, LAT Season 3, Mount Silver Season 4, SSBL Season 1, Mount Silver Season 5, GSA Season 7, Hive Season 6. Like, that's a lot of leagues to have I'm on in. And then Keldeo I've actually fallen in love with as well. It's around the kill the game-ish standpoint. I think that it's just kind of easy to just claim a kill with it pretty much every single time. So that's the top 25. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my recap of everything Gen 7. Again, if you have any questions or anything about anything more specific, feel free to give me a shout on Discord or leave a comment in the video below. This is quite a long one. It's just over an hour now, and my voice is going for sure, but I wanted to sort of recap all of my experiences and anything that you guys may have not seen on my YouTube channel. Coming next year will be Hive Season 7 in Kakuna. And that is all I have planned. I may or may not return to NCL. I know I announced that I wouldn't be returning, but I'm gonna see what the response is like in terms of returning coaches, because NCL Season 6 is actually right around the corner. So if you want to be part of that, go follow at NCL Draft League, and there will be an announcement about when we are launching applications for that. If we are launching applications for that and you're not already in the server, then please go follow that Twitter account, because there will be announcements all on there. That's gonna be it for me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. The music is Glitch City. It's the Mount Lanakila remix. I'll link it below, and I will catch you guys in January.